This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org here at the Free Your Mind conference here in Pennsylvania, New York, and I am joined by Jason Bassler of the Free Thought Project and Nick Burley of the Anti-Media, both successful independent media organizations, and we're going to be talking about a lot of important things with the censorship that's happening and also possible solutions. Now, Nick, first of all, we all go through a lot of incredible kind of censorship, a lot of things behind the scenes that people do not know about. We faced it very severely here at WeAreChange with YouTube, Google, and AdSense just screwing us over. What have you been dealing with, and what do you think is the latest kind of news with censorship and independent free media?
Well, man, it's like here with the independent media, in many ways we're challenging the status quo. We're challenging corporate America. We're challenging the government. And many of these companies, unfortunately, like Google, the hugest internet company in the world, they kind of have a monopoly over advertising. They have a monopoly over the search engines and all that stuff. And so they can really use that to manipulate what people are able to see and how people are able to make a living from this media movement. And we're seeing that come to a head lately. I know you guys at WeAreChange have been dealing with it on your YouTube channel. Keep in mind, Google owns YouTube as well. Antiwar.com has been dealing with it as far as Google pulling down all their ads because they were talking about Abu Ghraib. But we deal with this in the alternative media because we're challenging this system, and Google is a huge part of the government. I mean, they've got executives that work in economic development things within the Obama administration and stuff like that. So whenever people try to challenge this status quo, they may or may not face retaliation via censorship from companies like Google or Facebook or Yahoo that have a really heavy hand in this industry. And so that's one thing that I think people need to start understanding about what we're doing, is that there's a lot of forces against us. And we're talking about little companies. I mean, I don't know how many employees you guys have, but we have maybe 10 people, 15 people working with us. And we have very little resources, and we're kind of just working from the cuff. We're talking about billion-dollar industries that are heavily connected into the government. And whenever we start making waves into undermining that system, because in many ways that system is oppressive, they do what they can to shut down the message, and they try to kill the messenger. And that's what's been happening with many of these websites, whether we talk about antiwar.com, Mint Press News, on the anti-media. We're on our last warning from Google, because our last one came from an article we did on Abu Ghraib. Abu Ghraib is where the US government was torturing people in Iraq. And we cover this story because this is the news that people need to see, but then Google says, hey, you can't cover this news because it shows bad things happening. It's like, this is the stuff that we need people to see. If we're censoring that, then we're not letting the truth get out there, And that's the biggest problem to me, is that these companies, whether it's economically trying to take away the monetization of our websites, of our organizations, they're censoring us. And it's in a subvertive way. They're not coming and just saying, oh, we're shutting down your website, but they're just doing it in a way where it's like, oh, you just violated our policies. We're indirectly having to censor you. It's a huge problem, man. It's a huge problem.
Yeah. It used to be, don't be evil, Google's model. Now it's like, don't show evil. Now they have over, so many different lobbyists over there on K Street in Washington, totally working with the government. Now, Jason, how has your news organization, I mean, you guys with the Free Thought Project have been doing a lot of incredible work. Have you guys been affected by the censorship as well, and what's your status?
Sure, absolutely. Facebook has particularly targeted us over a lot of different arbitrary posts which don't necessarily violate terms of contract, but one way or another they're pulling down our posts, which obviously hurt our traffic income. And so more or less it's been a huge issue with us. I think I've been banned 3 30-day bans within 2 months with different accounts, obviously, but it's certainly been affecting our progress and our flow of work. So it's become more of a problem over the past
See, we were talking yesterday, and I remember, whenever I made a Facebook post, bam, viral, 50, 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, one post I even made before got, 18 million views, it's just like, bam, viral, hit, and now it's like, hit, wait, smaller hit, maybe you get lucky in a hit, and then also we have the fact that Facebook, we actually had a page with over, 500,000 likes. They sold our page without even notification, without even saying anything, to Time Warner, and Time Warner bought our page. That was a fan page of Jesse Ventura's, 500,000 people, without even notifying us. So you could just see, Time Warner Cable, all these big corporations kind of engulfing and trying to suppress the free speech, the kind of evil that we're trying to expose, because we're ultimately kind of exposing them. Now, when we're doing that, we were kind of talking about solutions. Nick, you were just talking about some as well. Where do you think we should go from all these problems that we are facing?
Well, I think it's really important to start working on building alternative networks, decentralized networks. The internet is such a huge, diverse place, but unfortunately, it's in many ways controlled by very few corporations. Whether we're talking about the internet service providers like Verizon, Time Warner, or whether we're talking about the traffic providers like Google and Facebook, things like that.
These are the new gatekeepers.
Yeah, they really are. And the whole thing, and we're talking about this about censorship and stuff. The whole reason why we have freedom of speech is to protect controversial speech, right? And it's to protect us to say things that are uncomfortable. And unfortunately, we've experienced when we say uncomfortable things, when we present information that's uncomfortable, like people being tortured by the US government, that stuff ends up being censored. So what we need to do, I think, is for one, start working on decentralized internet systems, finding alternatives to internet service providers. I think that's the biggest, most important thing we can do. The other thing I think that would be really, really big is figuring out ways to build alternative advertising networks. Most of us rely on Google to monetize our content, which is what we use to pay our journalists and to pay our rents and to operate our computers and pay for our internet service. So we're relying on these companies like Google and Facebook. I think we need to start building new companies that are ideologically opposite to what Google and Facebook have become, which are these highly centralized corporations. We need to have decentralized ideas, kind of like what Bitcoin is, but for the internet, and to start building peer-to-peer internet systems, things like that, and then alternatives to advertising networks, alternatives to Google AdSense, alternatives to Yahoo Ads, and all that stuff. We need to find conscious companies that are ethically aligned with freedom to be willing to start funding this work so that we can all continue to push this movement forward, push this idea of freedom forward. It requires a lot of different facets, it requires a lot of different resources. And advertising is one thing that we're really lacking on. A lot of us know that Google is a horrible, evil company, but we still have to work with them because otherwise we won't be able to pay our journalists. So we need to figure out solutions to that. Anyone out there watching this, if you got any ideas, please contact us because we want to figure out alternatives to advertising, and we want to help companies that are ethical companies that believe in the ideas of individual freedom and rolling back oppression. We want to work with these companies. We can help them. They can help us. I think that's one of the other big things that we need to work on is getting everybody together.
Touch on was that if we could create mutually beneficial relationships with writers and all different types of people within the social media movement, then we could help each other to maintain this kind of new journalistic approach to combating the mainstream media. And that's one thing I wanted to touch on as well, is that this is such a brand new technology. We're pioneers in social media. Everyone should be taking up this opportunity right now to be spreading the word. And if you're passionate about spreading this information, you're already halfway there. You're already kicking ass, and you have the motivation to make sure that we're passing on this information that's valuable to each other. So that's one thing I would mention. And also just networking with each other. I mean, me and this guy networked with each other in the very beginning stages of the anti-media when it had around 2,000 likes on Facebook page, and we've helped each other in so many different ways, just networking and helping pass on information. So that's one thing I would suggest, is trying to network as many people as you can. Obviously keeping it within certain parameters. You're not trying to reach out to too many, but
some things can be left unsaid. But I think cooperation, you're right, cooperation is really important in this new movement. Of course we have competing ideas sometimes and all that stuff, but I think cooperating together, because there's the elephant in the room is this oligarchy. It's not just the government, it's not just corporate, it's both. And we're opposed to that. So I think we should work together, even if we have opposing ideas sometimes, maybe varying philosophies and that kind of thing. It's important to cooperate in order to look at the bigger picture, which is rolling back the state, rolling back oppression, rolling back authoritarianism, is the broader project that we really need to work on. And whether you have a little website, whether you have a huge website, I think it's really important that we all network back together and like really come together to push all these ideas forward. And that's how we can take this thing to the next level.
You are the media. It's something that Luke from WeAreChange always says. You are the media. So take that into yourself, empower yourself, and share this information.
Many people say vote with your dollar. I say vote with your shares and your likes. It's just as important because you are going around the systems that are trying to suppress the information. There's a reason subscribers to this channel are not getting the latest videos that are coming out here because they don't want this. I could just imagine, I don't know if you guys get this image too, but I could just imagine Eric Schmidt just like sitting in his office and then just getting a phone call from like Obama being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like we're paying you, but you're allowing these people like Jason, people like Nick to make a living, people like Luke to make a living, destroying us. We're supposed to be working together, but Eric, what are you doing? And I can see Eric just being like, all right, we'll change the algorithms. And that's what they did. I remember the main reason Loose Change was as popular as it was because Google had an algorithm for the top most viewed videos, and people were able to see this is the most popular video. YouTube had the same thing. Then they took it away, and now all their corporate buddies and their partnerships that they have are recommended videos for you. Same with the Facebook newsfeed. That's how they kind of decentralize everything. And all these changing algorithms are extremely, extremely confusing, and that's how they get you, and that's how they deny you access to information that you are subscribed to that you will not even see. I don't know if you guys have any other comments that you want to add to that.
Exactly, man. I mean, people go and they like pages, they subscribe to YouTube channels, and they expect to receive that information. But then, Facebook or YouTube decides like, well, those people just aren't going to receive that information anymore, and it really is a form of censorship. Indirectly, they blame it on their algorithm changes and all that stuff, but it really is, to me, a way of censoring truth, censoring these ideas that may be controversial or maybe undermining to the current paradigm of things. And that's why it's so scary to them, the prospect of like, oh, this one person with a cell phone took this one video of something happening, and it could undermine a huge part of the scheme that they're running against us. And that's why they're so scared, and that's why they want to put this overall, they want to throw it wide, cast a big net and really censor everybody that has any kind of information that would challenge the status quo, more or less.
Same thing, I would say pay attention to the different platforms and what they could provide for the people. Facebook algorithms, once again, is a big part of it. If we could kind of narrow down exactly how they work and use that to our advantage, share that information with each other, once again, we're going to be benefiting this whole cause of liberty and truth. So.
And the conversation for the solution starts right here with the Free Thought Project, Anti-Media, WeAreChange. If you have another news organization and you want to maybe collaborate or talk to us, definitely, let's build this. Let's build an alternative to what we're facing. If we all come together and put aside our differences, we could do it. And most importantly, don't forget, check out the Free Thought Project, the Anti-Media, and vote with your likes and your shares. Thank you again so much for watching. Subscribe.